Doing good yourself.
Right.
Oh, lots of friendly faces.
Simone, we
Good.
are doing critique first. Is that correct?
Yes, critique, and then
It's the
5
order
minute
that
break, and then into impromptu.
it's the order
Yes.
they were written. Critique was the first response to try and get back at the people who were so incensed by School for Wives. And all that did was to make people even more incensed.
That's awesome.
Welcome. Well, I just want to say my name is Paul Sugarman, and this is the Instant Shakespeare Company. And I'm sorry, I've got the replay playing in the background there. And so we're sorry. We're very excited today to be presenting Moliere Rendezvous, presenting the critique for the School for Wives and the Impromptu at Versailles. And this is all put together by Simone Kunrad. Thank you so much, Simone, and over to you.
Great, thank you. Today, Moliere Rendezvous is going to present 2 one-act plays that followed his School for Wives play that had been performed on the 26th of December, 1662. This performance created such a huge controversial outcry, and Moliere replied to his critics on the stage with his company. The critique for School for Wives was performed in June of 1663, and afterwards another response in October of the same year, the Impromptu of Versailles. In the critique, Moliere expressed some principles of his new style of comedy, and in Impromptu, he made theater history with a sense of realism brought forth in the green room of the company, incorporating spontaneous remarks and chatter involved in rehearsal. So we will first introduce the cast. Clinton?
Hello, I'm Clinton Powell playing Lycidas and De Croissy.
Paula?
I'm Paula Hosa, and I am playing Clément.
And we have Delphine from Paris.
Bonjour, je suis Delphine et je joue les messengères.
Anna?
I'm Anna Cody. I'm reading Rania.
Paul?
Bonjour, I'm Paul. I'm playing Galopin.
Leia?
Hi, I'm Leia. I'm playing Mademoiselle de Coissy.
Brian?
Brian White playing De Lagrange.
Elena?
Hi, Elena Rader playing Mademoiselle Béja.
Angus?
Angus Hepburn playing Moliere, who played the Marquis in this.
Drew?
I'm Drew Bolander, and I'm playing Dorant and Brécourt.
And I'm Simone Kunrad, the Playmaster, and I am playing Elise. All right, so.
Wow. Okay, let's see. Sorry for the delay.
The stage is in Paris at the House of Eugénie. Act 1, Scene 1.
What, cousin? No one came to visit you?
No one at all.
Really, I'm amazed. We've been on our own together all day.
It surprises me as well. It isn't normally like this. Your home has become the refuge for every idler from the court.
Yes, I know. But since lunch, the day is positively dragged. It seemed never-ending.
Oh, I thought it raced by.
Oh, yes. Beautiful people love loneliness. Eh, cousin?
Hardly beautiful, cousin. You know that's not me.
Well, for me, I love the company. I admit it.
As do I, but I'm selective. For every welcome visitor, there are dozens of stupid hangers-on, so that often I simply need to be alone.
You're far too particular. You'll miss the cream by avoiding the dross. You're just being difficult.
And if you let them all in, you're just being accommodating.
I savor the reasonable ones and laugh at the extravagant ones.
The extravagant ones soon become boring. By their second visit, they're no longer amusing. And since we're talking about the extravagant ones, can you please rid me of that irritating marquis? Stop leaving him on my hands. I can't stand listening to his never-ending tales of his amusing exploits.
But his style is the latest fashion. His amusing stories are the in thing at court.
Too bad for the courtiers who twist themselves into knots trying to emulate him. Imagine dredging lame old jokes from the mud of the markets of Les Halles and the Place Maubert and trying to use them in the social scene of Le Louvre. A charming way for courtiers to behave. And of course, it's so amusing for one of them to tell Lady, Madame, you're in the Place Royale, but everyone sees you out in the country because of your bony looks. Cousin, you know, Bonneuil is that dull little village 3 outside of Paris. How wonderfully witty. They must be so delighted with their inventions.
I don't think they're trying to be witty. They know full well how ridiculous they sound.
Well, that makes it worse. Working so hard at pouting nonsense like a group of incompetent actors. If I were a judge, I know what sentence I would pass on them.
Let's just let it drop. If I were a judge, I know what sentence I would pass on them. I'm sorry. You're getting a bit heated. Where's Durant? He's late. We're supposed to be having supper.
Maybe forgot about it. Scene 2.
Clement has come to see you, madame.
Oh, God, that's all I need.
You were busy complaining about being alone, so God has punished you for it.
Quick, let's go. Galopin can say I'm not here.
She's already been told that you are.
What fool said that?
Me, madame.
Idiot! Don't put words in my mouth.
Well, I'll tell her that you prefer to be out, madame.
No, you nuisance. Just let it go. It's too late now.
She's talking to some man in the street.
Oh, no. It just gets worse and worse. I shall die of embarrassment, cousin.
It is true that the lady is just naturally embarrassing. I don't care how upper crust she is. I can't stand her. She's the silliest woman imaginable, and she will insist on arguing about everything.
Well, that's a bit strong, don't you think?
Oh, come on, she deserves it, and a good deal more, for being honest. Do you know anyone who is more famous, or should I say notorious?
You know, she really doesn't like being called that.
She may dislike the name, but not the status. After all, look at her. She's a veritable fashion plate from top to toe. She goes around like a bobblehead doll that's been all wound up, a puppet with jerking limbs, and that silly languid voice she affects. Not to mention her pouting rosebush mouth. And you've seen the way she rolls her eyes because she thinks it makes them look stunning.
She's come in. She'll hear you.
Oops. No, it sounds like she's still outside. I will never forget the evening she wanted to have Damon visit her because he had a great reputation and everyone wanted to be seen with him. You know the man. He's completely lazy. Can't be bothered keeping conversations going and almost no social graces. She had invited him to supper to show him off, and he couldn't have been more idiotic. Never did he seem so foolish. There were 6 people there who looked at him with eager expectation, as if he was someone really special. They all thought that he was there to entertain the company with witty stories, and that every word that came out of his mouth would be a jewel, that he would improvise wittily on everything he said, and to be even brilliant when asked for a drink. But not him. He was at his worst, and to their astonishment, he never said a word. Let me tell you, the lady was even more upset with him than I am with her.
Quiet. I hear her. I'm going to the door to welcome her.
I tell you what, I would like to see her married with that awful Marquis creature. What a wonderful pair they would make, the notorious and the bad actor.
Hush, here she is. No, really, it's getting late, rather late, and I do think...
Oh, please, my dear, a seat, quickly.
Galopin, a chair if you would, fast as you can.
Oh, my God.
What is it?
I can't take it any longer.
What's the matter?
I think I'm going to pass out.
Is it the vapors?
No, not that.
Should we help to unlace you?
My God, no. Oh.
What's wrong then? When did all this start?
Oh, more than 3 hours ago. I was at the theatre, the Palais Royal. That's when I was completely overcome.
But how?
I was seeing for my sins this wicked travesty, the School for Women. I'm still nauseous from the shock it gave me. It'll take me weeks to get over it.
Goodness me. Illness can strike you when you least expect it.
I wouldn't have thought that my cousin and I are temperamentally that different from you, but we went to see that same play the day before yesterday, and both of us came home perfectly fine. Cheerful, in fact.
What? You've seen it?
Yes, and listened to the whole thing from start to finish.
And it didn't send you into convulsions, my dear.
I'm not that delicate, thank God. And in fact, I would have thought that the comedy would be more likely to heal people rather than make them sick.
Oh, dear God, what are you talking about? How can you say that? You, who are usually so full of common sense. How can you, in all sincerity, repeat such scandalous nonsense, scandalous ideas? Are you so oblivious that you cannot see the nonsense that drips out of every line? It's all lies and fabrications. That babies through the ear line was just disgusting. The cream pie left a foul taste in my mouth, and I felt faint. And as for the soup bit, I nearly threw up.
Goodness me. You put it so elegantly. And all the while, I was thinking it was a good play. Such persuasive elegance and so pleasantly expressed that I'm almost tempted to agree with everything she said.
For me, I'm not so willing to accept her strange ideas because, to be frank, as far as I'm concerned, this comedy is one of the most pleasant plays that the author has written.
Oh, I am sorry to hear you speak that way. And I must question your judgment. As a virtuous woman, how can you defend a play that attacks our modesty with questionable so-called wit?
You have such a pretty way of stating things. You are indeed a tough critic. I feel sorry for Moliere having you as an enemy.
Oh, believe me, my dear, you would be wise to think again, revise your opinions. Your status in society will be ruined if you keep saying you liked the play.
But I don't see what it is about it that offends you.
Oh, goodness me. Everything. Let's face it, an honest woman could not but be shocked by it. It was simply rubbish. And all those filthy jokes.
Oh, you must be more knowledgeable about rubbish and filth than I, because I saw nothing of that in it.
Oh, that's because you don't want to see it. It's clearly visible if you would only look. That writer makes no attempt to be subtle, but rather flaunts the filth. It would shock even the most thick-skinned.
Really?
Most definitely.
Oh, come. Well, give me an example of one of those disgusting passages that offend you so much.
Oh, dear. Must I?
Yes, I need to see what it is that so upsets you.
Well, there was that scene where Agnes tells how the man took her, you know.
Well, what's so dirty about that?
Oh!
Please, tell me.
Oh!
Oh, come on, tell me.
Oh, no, I couldn't.
I don't see any harm in it.
Oh, too bad for you.
So much the better, in fact. You see, I prefer to take things at face value and not try to tear things apart looking for hidden meanings.
But our reputations.
Our reputations are not something to be fussed over. Don't try and be wiser than those who are truly wise. That's just a petty affectation. You are simply being ridiculous, constantly looking for the worst in everything, taking everything the wrong way. And trust me, you will simply make yourself a laughingstock by trying to censor things because of your purely personal offended sensibilities. Women who do that all the time are not considered ladies, and so society turns on them and mocks them. At the play the other night, there was a box opposite filled with ladies making faces and looking horrified and hiding their faces throughout the play. The rest of the audience kept looking at them and making rude comments about them, all of it prompted by the actions of the silly women themselves. One of the servants in the audience shouted that their ears were the most chaste parts of their bodies.
So, you want us to be blind during the play and not see what is plainly there?
Not at all. But you shouldn't hunt for things that simply don't exist.
I'm sorry. I must say again, the filth was being flung in our faces.
Well, I'm sorry. I can't agree.
What? You mean to tell me you're not appalled by the things Anya says in that scene?
Not at all. She doesn't say anything that it isn't perfectly proper. If you believe it's filthy, then it's your own mind that's doing that. All she's talking about is a ribbon that's been taken from her.
Ah, you can deny it as much as you like. What about when she says, my, and then takes a breath? What is that supposed to convey? The mind boggles. It is truly scandalous, and I don't care what you say, you cannot defend that. My.
It is true, cousin. I have to agree with my lady. It really is rude, and you are quite right to defend that. My.
He has penned an obscenity which is not to be tolerated.
What is that? How do you say that word, madame?
Obscenity, madame.
Oh, goodness. Obscenity. I have no idea what it means, but it certainly is the prettiest of words.
Oh, you see, your own flesh and blood sides with me.
Rubbish. She's just saying whatever she thinks you want to hear. Don't believe a word of it.
Cousin, don't be so mean to me. You're just trying to make Madame suspicious. What would happen to me if she believed you? Madame, I would be mortified if you thought that of me.
Oh, no. I'm not going to fall for her tricks. I believe you are more sincere than she says.
You are quite right, Madame. You are the most believable person I've ever heard, and I am sure you will do me justice, since I completely agree with you. Every word you utter is true and charming.
Well, I speak without affectation.
We can see it, Madame. Your sentiments are completely natural. Everything about you, your words, your tone of voice, your looks, the way you walk, indeed, everything you do is simply enchants people. I have been studying you with great care, so I can copy you and be just like you in everything.
You are laughing at me, Madame.
Never, Madame. I would never dream of making fun of you.
Really? Oh, but I am not a good role model, my dear.
Ah, but you are, Madame.
Oh, I fear you flatter me.
Never, Madame.
Oh, please, Madame, spare my blushes.
But I am sparing you, Madame. I say only a fraction of what I think.
Oh, please, you must stop. You're making my head spin. Well, you see, we are 2 against your 1. Intelligent women should not be so stubborn.
Scene 4.
Stop, if you please, sir.
Don't you know who I am?
Of course I know you, but you don't. You will not be.
Cease this noise, lackey.
You can't enter where you're not wanted.
I want to see your mistress.
She's not here, I tell you.
Of course she's here. In the bedroom.
True, but that's not here.
What is it?
It's your lackey, madame. He's being stupid.
I tell him that you are not here, madame, but he insists on coming in.
And why did you tell the Marquise that I wasn't here?
You scolded me the other day for telling him you were at home.
Listen to the insolence. I beg you, sir, do not believe him. He's a bit lacking in brains. He took you for someone else.
I could see that, madame. And had you not come, I would have taught him how to treat people of quality.
My cousin is very obliged to you for being so understanding.
Fetch me a chair, you impertinent lout.
Isn't that one over there?
Well, get it for him.
Your little lackey, madame, has no respect for his betters.
He'll learn in time, I'm sure.
Maybe I'm paying the price for my bad looks.
Age will make him appreciate stylish people more.
What were you talking about when I interrupted you, ladies?
That new comedy, The School for Wives.
Oh, I've just come from there.
And what did you think of it, monsieur?
Quite scandalous.
Ah, how delighted I am.
It was the nastiest thing in the world. And to crown it all, it was nearly impossible to get a ticket. I thought I was going to be trampled at the door. I've never had my toes stomped on so much. Oh, just look at the state of my frills and ribbons.
True, that does cry out for vengeance against Moliere, and it's only justice to condemn his School for Wives.
I don't think there has ever been such a disgracefully wicked comedy.
Oh, there's Durant. We've been waiting for him.
Don't move, please, and don't stop your conversation. That subject has been the sole topic in all houses in Paris for the past 4 days. It's been delightful to listen to all the contradictory judgments. I have heard people condemn it for exactly the same reasons that others praise it.
The Marquis here says it's disgusting.
Oh, it's true. I find it detestable. Absolutely detestable from start to finish. Completely hateful.
And I, my dear Marquis, find your opinion detestable. Absolutely detestable.
But Knight, do you support the piece?
Yes, indeed I do.
Good Lord. I guarantee it is detestable.
Saying it does not make it so. Come, Marquis, give me reasons. Justify this claim. Why is this comedy detestable?
Why is it detestable?
Yes.
Well, it is detestable because it is detestable.
Ah, well, that does it. Who could argue with that? It's detestable because it is detestable. Oh, but come, monsieur, I beg you to educate us. Tell us why the play is so detestable. Spare us nothing.
What do I know? I didn't really pay much attention to it. But I do know that it is the meanest thing I have ever seen. Bless me. Dorelis was with me and he agreed completely.
Oh, double authority. It's beautiful. Who could dispute them?
But you only have to consider the continuous gales of laughter from the back stalls. You sure don't need any further proof that the thing is worthless.
Oh, so, Marquis, you are one of those fine gentlemen who sit in style and are quite certain that those poor folk in the back stalls have no common sense or indeed intelligence, and who would never demean himself to ever laugh with them, no matter how good the play was. The other week in the theater, I saw one of our friends looking quite ridiculous. He sat there listening to a play with a face of doom and gloom. At every roar of laughter, he shrugged his shoulders and looked around in pity. Sometimes he even went so far as to shout, "Go ahead, laugh, you morons, laugh." It was a comedy in itself. My poor friend making an exhibition of himself in front of the whole audience. Some even commented that his performance was even funnier than the play. You really need to learn, Marquis, that comedy has nothing to do with common sense or even intelligence. Just because you spend an indecent sum of money for a private box instead of a few coins for the back stalls doesn't necessarily give you good taste. It doesn't matter where you sit. Bad judgment is bad judgment. And frankly, I would rather rely on the approval of the back stalls. Of course, some of them judge it according to the rules that try to dictate how a play ought to be judged. But most of them judge it the proper way, which is to get caught up in the action and avoid prejudice, affectation, and sensitive judgmental morality.
So, Knight, you are the defender of the back stalls. How delightful. And of course, I will be sure to let them know that you are their champion.
Oh, laugh as much as you want. I am for common sense. I cannot endure the pretentious pronouncements from our people like the Marquis de Mascret. It really upsets me to see those people, supposedly people of quality, who persist in making themselves look ridiculous in public. They believe they know everything and insist on forcing their opinions on everyone they meet. When they're in theater, they continually comment loudly on what they consider is the bad bits and ignore anything that might be judged good. It's the same thing we see with a painting or at a concert, always blaming the good and praising the bad. They pick up a few technical terms and they always get them wrong. For God's sake, gentlemen, when God hasn't given you the intelligence to know what you're talking about, please have the decency to just shut up. If you don't trust me, you are only making yourself look ridiculous. Better to say nothing. Then people might actually think you're quite clever.
I say, Knight, you're a bit harsh.
Oh, my dear Marquis, I don't mean you. But there are at least a dozen so-called gentlemen who dishonor those sensible court people like ourselves with their extravagant ways and make ordinary people believe that we are all like them. But I won't admit defeat. Whenever I meet them, I will be showing them the error of their ways in the hope that they will eventually develop at least a modicum of wisdom.
Tell me, Chevalier, do you think Lysander shows a modicum of wisdom?
Yes, undoubtedly. Indeed, a great deal of wisdom.
Very true.
Well, if you ask him what he thinks of the School for Wives, he will tell you that the play displeases him.
Well, of course, there are those who are just a bit too clever. They shed so much light upon the subject that it blinds them. And they do hate so to have the same opinion as everyone else. They have to be unique.
That's true. He is a bit like that. I have to agree with you. He wants to be the first to express his particular opinion, and we are supposed to patiently await his pronouncements. Anyone who beats him to it is a threat to his status, and he is then forced to take the contrary view in order to protect his reputation. We are supposed to consult him to find out what we should think. To be honest, if Monsieur Molière had shown him the new comedy first, he would have pronounced it to be the finest thing he'd ever read.
And what about the Marquise Aramint, who tells everyone who will listen that it is appalling and that she could never endure listening to such garbage?
Well, that's no more than one would expect. There will always be those who make themselves look ridiculous trying to flaunt their supposed propriety. I mean, she's certainly quite smart, but she is following the bad example of those who, fearing their advancing age and the loss of their status and faculties, try to replace their vanishing youth and beauty with grimaces of prudery. The Marquise takes this to extremes in that she seeks out filth where, quite simply, none exists. Even worse, she has now taken to disfiguring language. She demands that any words that contain offensive syllables should have their heads and tails cut off.
You are crazy, Knight.
So, Chevalier, you think you are defending the comedy by satirizing those who condemn it?
Not I, but I do believe this lady is quite wrong to be so scandalized.
May be right, Monsieur le Chevalier, but remember there still might well be others who share her opinions.
At least I know you are not one of them. When you went to see the play...
That's true, but I changed my mind since then. Madame has offered such convincing arguments that I have been converted to her side.
Ah, Madame, I beg your pardon. And if you would like, for the love of you, I will withdraw everything I said.
I don't want it to be for the love of me, but for the sake of reason. Because this play, to be fair, is completely indefensible, and I fail to understand.
Ah, here is the author, Monsieur Lycidas. He has come just in time. Sir, take a seat over there, if you will.
Madame, I apologize for being late, but I had to read my play. The one I told you about at Madame Le Marquise's, and I couldn't get away. Everyone wanted to compliment me on it.
There's no better way to detain an author than by praising him.
Please sit down, Monsieur Lycidas. We'll read your play after supper.
All who were there are planning to come to the premiere. They've promised to do as much as they can for me.
How nice of them. But please, sit down. We've been having a fascinating discussion, and I would very much like to continue it.
Madame, I hope that you will remember to book your usual box for the opening.
We will see. For the moment, let us continue our conversation.
I must warn you, madame, that nearly all the tickets are sold.
Good for you. But you have arrived just when I needed you. Everyone here has turned against me.
Originally, Durant was on your side, but now he knows that Madame Climene is heading up the other side. You may well have to look for help elsewhere.
No. I wouldn't want to cause him problems in his courtship of your cousin. Let his mind follow his heart.
Since I have your permission, madam, I will be so bold as to defend myself.
But first, let's hear the opinions of Mr. Lycidas.
On what, madame?
On the subject of the School for Wives.
Well, what do you think?
I have nothing to say about it. You know that we authors have to be very circumspect when we talk about each other's work.
Fair enough, but just between ourselves, what do you think of that comedy?
I, sir?
Be honest. What do you think of it?
I find it quite lovely.
Really?
Really? Why would I not? Is it not, in fact, the best play you've ever seen?
You're being dishonest, Monsieur Lycidas. You're not saying what you're really thinking.
Excuse me?
Oh, yes, I know only too well. You're a master at dissimulation.
Me, monsieur?
I can see that you're only being nice about the play to be polite about it. In reality, you agree with all those people who think it's bad.
Oh, really?
Admit it. You think that as a comedy, it's pretty bad.
It is true that it doesn't get the blessing of the cognoscenti.
By my troth, knight, a hit, a palpable hit, and thus are you paid for your mockery.
Enough, my dear Marquise, enough.
Oh, you see, the scholars are on our side.
It's true. Monsieur Lycidas' opinion carries considerable weight, but he will have to accept that I don't lie down and give in without a fight. And since I have the audacity to defend myself against Madame's opinions, he shouldn't object to me disagreeing with him.
Really? Madame le Marquis and Monsieur Lycidas are all ranged against you, and you still dare to stand against them? I doubt that's going to get you very far.
What I don't understand is how otherwise perfectly reasonable people can actually get it into their heads to defend that disgusting rubbish.
Oh, too damn true, madame. It's miserable from start to finish.
Such a glib judgment, Marquis. There is nothing easier than to make such sweeping condemnations, and I see nothing that is safe from your painful truths.
Well, let me tell you, lots of other actors who saw it hated it.
Ah, say no more. You're right, Marquis. If other actors are saying it's rubbish, then of course it's true. These are all enlightened people who have no personal bias. There is nothing more to say. I surrender.
Agree with me or not, you will never persuade me to accept your opinions or tolerate the derogatory satires that the play makes against women.
Well, I would never take offense or believe that any of the things said in the play were meant for me. Those kinds of satires are aimed at manners and only strike people as reflections. We shouldn't take personal offense at the censure, but rather take advantage of the lessons it can teach us, if we can, while at the same time pretending it is nothing at all to do with us. All the ridiculous portraits that are exhibited in theaters should be watched without taking personal affront. They are mirrors to the public. But we must never admit that we see each other in them. And when the author ridicules some defect, if we protest too much, it only indicates that we share that defect.
As far as I'm concerned, I don't talk about these things as if they constitute a personal attack. Indeed, I am quite secure in my status in society and certainly do not live in fear of being satirized or am concerned that those scurrilous portraits of poorly governed harridans are in any way a reflection of myself.
Certainly not, madame. No one would ever think you a model for any of those creatures. Your conduct is well known and respected. No one would ever dispute that.
Indeed, madam, nothing I said pertains to you, and my words, like the satires of comedy, are directed at the general populace.
I don't doubt it, madame. But let us finally move on. I don't know how you react to the insults levied against our sex at one point in the play. Personally, I am consumed with anger at the way the impertinent author refers to us as animals.
You see, he's really mocking the character who says those things.
And again, madame, surely you know that insults between lovers never offend. Some love passionately, others sweetly, but the words they use are received as declarations of affection by those that receive them.
And say whatever you want. I certainly wouldn't digest any of it, not the soup or the cream pie that Madame spoke of earlier.
Oh my goodness, yes. Oh, the cream pie. Oh, I remember it. Oh, the cream pie. Oh, thank you so much for reminding me, Madame. I am truly obliged to you for the cream pie memory. It was priceless. Oh, dear God, the cream pie. Oh.
What do you mean, cream pie?
Of course, the cream pie.
Really?
The cream pie.
And this was funny?
Oh, yes. Oh, cream pie.
You'll have to explain it to me.
But I mean, really, it's just cream pie.
And what was wrong with that?
Oh, rather wrong. Nothing whatsoever. I mean, cream pie.
I give up.
Monsieur le Marquis is feeding you the best of it. Now let's have Monsieur Lycidas cross the T's and dot the I's and then add a few flourishes of his own.
It's not my custom to criticize, and I'm certainly more than tolerant of the work of others. But without wishing to belittle the esteem in which Monsieur Le Chevalier holds the author, I must say that these kinds of comedies are not proper plays. There's a huge difference between these trivial things and the beauty of serious pieces. Yet it seems as though half of Paris is trying their hand at writing them, and the rest of Paris goes to see them while the great works played at half-empty houses. I confess that my heart sometimes bleeds. It shames France.
It's true. People's taste is lamentable. I swear this century is going to the dogs.
Another pretty expression. Going to the dogs. Did you invent it, Madame?
Oh, please.
I knew it.
So you believe, Monsieur Lycidas, that serious works are beautiful and spiritual, filled with moving poetry, while comic plays are simply nonsense, are devoid of merit, and as such deserve no praise?
Well, that's not my opinion. Tragedy is no doubt beautiful when it is done well, but comedy has its charms too, and I imagine that one is no easier to create than the other.
Certainly, madame. And if you suggested that comedy was actually a little more difficult to write, you would be not far wrong. Because, after all, it is so much easier to write great emotions, to brave fortune or accuse the fates and insult the gods than it is to try to understand ridiculous men and present their faults in an entertaining way on the stage. When you're writing heroes, you do whatever you want. They are portraits drawn from your imagination. You don't have to be realistic. You write to catch the marvelous. But when you write about the ordinary people, you have to follow nature. Such characters must be recognizable to the audience as people they have met. In great dramas, to avoid criticism, you only have to write lines that make sense. But in comedy, that's not enough. You are trying to write lines that are funny. It's not easy to make people laugh.
I believe I am a genuine, honest person, but I did not find anything to laugh at in the whole play.
Neither did I.
For you, Marquis, I am not surprised. You didn't find any of your bad puns in it.
Of my face, sir, what we heard there was not much better. All the so-called jokes fell flat, in my opinion.
The court would certainly not agree with you.
Oh, well, sir, the court.
Come now, Monsieur Lycidas. Ah, you mean that the court does not know about such things? Of course, this is a refuge of you authors who, when your plays are failures, you blame the injustices of the century on the stupidity of courtiers. Let me tell you, Monsieur Lycidas, courtiers can see as clearly as anyone else. Lace collars and fancy wigs don't affect our ability to reason or make us more stupid than the peasants. It is the court that provides the definitive judgment on your plays, the verdict that will ensure their success. The many scholars among the courtiers will provide wise criticism based on learning, common sense, and good taste, and that is much more useful than the accolades of peasants.
It is true that the longer one stays at court, the more knowledge one acquires. In particular, the ability to distinguish between good and bad jokes.
The court has some ridiculous individuals, it's true, and I am the first to expose them. But there is also a great number of fine minds among them. Certainly, we make fun of some of the marquises, but there is also much to decry amongst the authors. I'm sure it would be extremely entertaining to show off their sham learning, their posturing, their learned grimaces, and their ridiculous refinements, not to mention their vicious custom of character assassination that they scatter throughout their plays. They play with people's reputations, making and destroying them as they wage their wars of words in prose and verse.
Well, I'm sure Monsieur Moliere is very happy to have so stalwart a protector as you, sir. But let's get to the point. Is his play good or not? I will volunteer to show you 100 obvious defects.
It is indeed strange how you people, you gentlemen poets, always condemn the plays that sell out and only praise those that no one ever goes to see. You show an invincible hatred for the popular pieces and an almost unbelievable admiration for the others.
And that's because it is a kindness to take the part of the underdog.
But please, Mr. Lycidas, tell us about all those defects that I'm afraid I did not notice.
Think back to Aristotle and Horace, madame, and you will see that this comedy breaks all the rules of art.
I confess that I have little familiarity with those gentlemen, and I know nothing of the rules of art.
You writers are such pleasant people with your rules that you use to embarrass the common people, and that you then beat us over the head with. To hear you speak, these rules of art are the greatest mysteries in the world. And yet these are nothing but a few observations that common sense has made on how to take away the pleasure we find in these kinds of plays. And that same common sense that made these observations can make them nowadays without needing the help of your Horace and Aristotle. I wonder, is it the greatest rule of all? That is your job, to entertain people? And if you fail in that, your play has gone off the rails. How can a whole audience be deceived about this? Isn't the audience the best judge of whether the comedy entertains or not?
One thing I have noticed about these gentlemen, those who talk most about the rules and who know them best usually write comedies that no one finds amusing.
And that simply shows, madam, that we should ignore their embarrassing and stale arguments. Because after all, if the pieces that are written according to the rules do not please, while those that do please ignore the rules, it stands to reason that these rules are quite simply wrong. So let's ignore all these tedious arguments that try to subvert the public's taste, and let's simply enjoy a comedy because it makes us laugh. Look, if we end up rolling about on the floor laughing, then let us enjoy it and not listen to all these naysayers and their precious rules.
For me, when I see a comedy, I only notice it if it affects me. And when I have enjoyed myself, I will certainly not analyze the play and ask if I was wrong or whether Aristotle's rules say that I shouldn't have laughed at it.
It's just like a man who finds a sauce delicious, but who then denies its quality because he reads in a cookery book that it's made in the wrong way.
It is true. And I look askance at the prejudice of those people who decry things that we shouldn't analyze, but just feel spontaneously and without judgment.
You are right, madam, to find all those pretensions ridiculous. Because in the end, if we accept them, we lose faith in ourselves. Our judgment becomes enslaved to the will of others so that everything in our lives becomes controlled by so-called experts.
So your argument, sir, is that the School for Wives was a success with the people, and that you therefore do not care that it broke all the rules that dictate how...
No, Monsieur Lysidas, I will not give you that. I say that great art should please, and that since this comedy pleased those for whom it was written, that is enough. The rest is irrelevant. It does not break any of the rules you speak of. I have read them, I assure you, in great detail, and I would claim, on the contrary, that there is no play in the theater that obeys these so-called rules better.
Courage, Monsieur Lycidas. We are lost if you do not hold firm.
But, sir, the protasis, the epitasis, and the peripatia!
Oh, Monsieur Lycidas, you and your big words. You need to talk so that people can understand you. Do you think that using fancy Greek words will give your argument more weight? Don't you think that you could simply say the introduction instead of the protasis, the main action or sermon instead of the epitasis, the crisis as the peripatia?
And these are the correct artistic terms for the parts of a play. However, since the words seem to hurt your ears, I will explain myself in another way, and I beg you to respond positively to 3 or 4 things that I will say. Can we tolerate a play that offends against the very nature of theater? Because after all, a play is essentially a dramatic poem, a term that comes from the Greek word where drama derives from a word for action. So this poem must comprise action, and yet in this so-called comedy, no action takes place. Everything consists of stories by either Agnes or Horace.
Aha! Knight!
A very astute response, one that really gets to the meat of the question.
Could there be anything more crude, or to be more precise, so low, where everyone laughs, especially that line about children through the ears?
Very good.
The scene between the valet and the maidservant in the house, isn't it just too long and boring, and to be honest, rather pointless?
Well, that's true.
Certainly.
He's quite right.
Doesn't Arnulf give his money to Horace far too freely? And of course, since he is the comic character in the play, how can he suddenly become an honest man?
Aha! Yes, an excellent point.
Admirable.
Formidable.
Are not the sermon and the maxims of marriage not ridiculous? After all, they shock the respect we owe to those mysteries?
That is well said.
A just and fair comment.
Well put.
And what of Monsieur de la Chouches himself? He's painted as a man of wit, yet he often comes across as serious, and then he descends into something so comical and outrageous in the 5th act when he explains to Agnes the violence of his love. No wonder everyone laughs at his extravagant eye rolls and ridiculous sighs, not to mention those silly tears.
Oh, truly wonderful.
A miracle.
Vive Monsieur Lycidas.
I won't go on, in case I simply become too boring.
Oh, my dear Chevalier, you are outmaneuvered.
We'll see about that.
You've met your match, my friend.
Possibly.
Answer.
Gladly,
Well, answer then, if you can.
If you'll be quiet for a moment, I will.
Oh, let's hear it. I challenge you to answer him.
How can I if you're still talking?
Please give him a chance. Let's listen to his reasons.
First, it isn't true to say that the play only consists of narratives. There is much action happening on stage. The stories themselves are actions and advance the plot, especially since they are all innocently told to the main character, who then gets thrown into confusion to delight the audience. He is, of course, when faced with each new piece of information, he takes every step he can to ward off those misfortunes he fears.
I find that the delight of the play is the way the characters confide in each other, unaware of the havoc their words cause. It strikes me as quite amusing that An intelligent man who is warned of everything by the innocent who is his mistress and by the foolish boy who is his rival still cannot avoid his fate.
Oh, that's just nonsense.
What a ridiculous answer.
Pathetic response.
And the line about children through the ear, that's only making fun of Arnulf. It isn't intended to be a joke in itself, but only a way of showing what kind of man he is, where he repeats something rather silly and naive that Agnes said and presents it as though it was great wisdom that delighted him.
You're avoiding the issue.
Totally unsatisfactory.
You haven't exactly told us anything worthwhile.
As for the money he gives so freely, that letter from his best friend guarantees it. There's nothing unusual in a person behaving ridiculously in some things and honestly in others. And for the scene with Alain and Georgette in the house, I know that some people found it long and tedious, but it's there for a purpose. Just as Arnulf found himself caught out while he was away in pure innocence of his ward, he is kept waiting at his door by the innocence of his servants. Whatever he tries to do to keep his interests safe in love, or indeed in anything else for that matter, he only ends up getting punished and humiliated for it.
No, worthless arguments.
Meaningless distractions.
It's pitiful.
As for that moral speech in the sermon is concerned, truly religious people who heard it did not find it shocking in any way. And even the extravagance of Arnulf and the innocence of his ward, it is perfectly reasonable for him to talk of hell and boiling cauldrons. And as for that transport of love in the fifth act, which they say is too outrageous and comical, is it not merely a satire on lovers? After all, even honest and serious people on such occasions do strange things.
My dear knight, I think you'd better stop talking.
Oh, all right. But still, if we look at the way we carry on when we are passionately in love.
I really don't want to listen to you.
No, listen to me. When passion overcomes you, you don't. What? I don't know if.
La 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 la.
It seems to me. Okay, these discussions are really most entertaining. We could make it into a little comedy and put it on at the end of the School for Wives.
You're right.
Of course. Knight, your role in it wouldn't be particularly flattering.
That's true, Marquis.
I'd like to see that, provided we write it all down exactly as it happened.
And I would gladly play myself.
I certainly wouldn't refuse to play me.
Since everyone would be happy with that, Chevalier, why don't you write it all down as it happened and give it to your friend Moliere, so that he can turn it into a comedy?
I very much doubt he would be interested. After all, the lines hardly praise him.
No. I know how he thinks. He won't care if we attack his place as long as it brings in audiences.
Yes. But how will it end? There can't be a marriage or even a recognition scene where the lovers find each other at last. And how on earth are we to end the argument?
We'll just have to dream up some incident that will put an end to the discussion.
End of play. And we will take a grand
scene.
bow at the end.
You skipped the last scene.
Great. Oops.
Dinner is served, madame.
Perfect. This is exactly what we are looking for. We will argue vigorously and no one will surrender. Then the lackey will come and say that dinner is served. We will get up and everyone will go in.
Yes, let's leave it there. I couldn't think of a better ending.
There we go. Now it's the end of the play. Everyone's already done. And a big bow. All right. Lovely, everyone. All right, thank you. That is Moliere's first response, and we will hear his next response in 5 minutes.
Yeah, thanks to everyone. I'd never heard my script spoken out loud before, so it was a delight to hear you all working it. Thanks.
It was a delight to read.
Yeah, great work, everyone. Cream pie was hilarious.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, well done all. That was I was couldn't listen to all of it, but what I was able to listen to and hear was quite a lot of fun. And it's just so interesting in terms of, we think of all of these things that we think of as so modern in terms of being like a sort of a meta thing, sort of talking about this other performance. And I mean, it's like, yeah, this was like almost 400 years ago. And, you know, and just that there's also the same sort of arguments are still what it is. I mean, in terms of censorship, I mean, we're having more censoring happening now than ever, you know, and just it's like the different buzzwords we have for that.
Oh yeah. Yeah, his ideas in theatre, which you'll hear more of in the rehearsal at Versailles, are quite radical compared with what was going on in theatre at the time. And he was fairly adamant that things should be done in a way that got across to audiences, and that was the most important thing. Good. And I didn't change it all that much. That literally was, I mean, I took a literal translation of the text and then sort of made it a bit more easy to say.
Yeah. Well, and I mean, I think that's one of the reasons why that with Moliere and Shakespeare, that their words really endure, because it's like, as also actors, you know, it's like when you're, I mean, like why I think why the first years of Saturday Night Live are so much better than anything else that came out, because you had like writer performers doing it, you know?
Oh yeah.
And so you have to come up with the right word that like, this is how it's gonna get the best laugh. And
the rule of three.
Yes.
That's right. Rule of three. That's right. Yes.
That seems to have lasted through the centuries.
Yeah.
That transcends time. Yes, it does.
When I did the Bourgeois Gentilhomme at the Cocteau, the guy who'd done the translation of it, he and I were really singing on the rule of three. You know, one's funny, two's not. One's not funny, two's not. 4 isn't funny, but 3, if you do it right,
3 hits it.
punches. Yeah. And he got it, and we found with him as the director as well as the translator, we were talking the same language, which made the whole bit easy. Okay, the next one is the rehearsal. Let me get that up. Right.
Yeah. So we still got like, 2 more minutes. If there's anything else anybody wants to sort of say about what we just, hello, what happened there? Did I lose you? Did you lose me? But we're in Versailles.
Yeah.
Well, there's also, I think there's a play version of it that I've never seen done, of like, isn't there a play about the life of Moliere by Bulgakov, Mikhail Bulgakov? I think I don't know. I think there was like a thing that was, I remember once there was some sort of TV series of it, and I think it may have been, I don't know.
Yeah. He was also, again, I mean, a lot of the time in that period, people would just come on stage and spout words. You know, they just say them in a very, very presentational style, and there was no life to what they were saying, and he was very much against that. And he gets into that in the next one when he starts to mock the actors of the Bourgogne Company, who are trying to make fun of him and really not succeeding all that well.
Yes. Well, just want to sort of say, this is the Instant Shakespeare Company is going to be back. We're actually back. We've done our first back in live in the New York Public Libraries at the Yorkville branch this past Saturday. And
how'd it go? Good.
I heard it went very well. It was like 8 actors doing Caesar, so it was a lot of things. So, but yeah, that you remember that from like our first season.
Oh yeah, that's proper Instant Shakespeare. That is.
Yeah, and you just keep it going. But yeah, I unfortunately wasn't able to be there, but I hear it went very well. And we've got
Good.
other libraries interested in doing it, but we also want to continue on Zoom. So we probably don't want to do things that will conflict with the live ones to encourage people to go to those.
Oh, yeah.
But we will like have Sundays or other days, other times that are good. And Angus, if there's stuff you want to do or times that would be good for you.
Yeah. I'm putting together the suffragette plays. Did you have a look at the second script that you sent me? I was having difficulty with some of the typos in it.
I will look into that because yes, you're quite right. That's not the whole play. There's more to it. There is a lot more to it. That is.
And I thought maybe you grabbed the wrong PDF to send to me.
Yeah, well, I agree. Yeah, it was the only one I had. So,
okay.
Actually, now that I'm up here in Vermont, I will be able to look into that.
Back your dad into a corner.
Yeah.
Okay, so the bells are ringing. We are now getting ready for our second play.
Excellent.
So everyone off stage and. So our next play, our next one-act play is the Impromptu from Versailles. And it is right at the stage of Versailles in the Salle de la Comédie. Act 1, Scene 1.
Oh, come on, ladies and gentlemen. Stop wasting time. You're taking forever. Oh, to hell with them. Hello? Monsieur Bricard.
What is it?
Monsieur Lagrange.
Yes. What?
Monsieur Croissy.
Hello!
Mademoiselle de Parc.
What now? What, is something wrong?
Mademoiselle Béjar.
What now?
Mademoiselle de Brie.
You need something.
Mademoiselle de Croissy.
What is it?
Mademoiselle Hervé.
I'm coming.
Oh, they're going to make me crazy. Oh, about time. Gentlemen, are you trying to drive me mad?
What do you want us to do? We don't know our lines. You are driving us mad, making us work this way.
Oh, actors. They're impossible to work with.
Well, we're here now. What are we doing?
Yes, what's the plan?
What's it all about?
Look, please, can we start? Look, we're all in costume and the king won't be here for a couple of hours at least. So can we please use the time to rehearse the play?
Well, I can't remember a single one of my lines.
I'll certainly be keeping the prompter busy.
I'm not letting my script out of my hand.
Me too.
I don't have enough lines to worry about.
Neither do I. But I'll never remember my cues.
For 10 pistoles, I'd be out of here.
I'd rather be whipped than go through this, let me tell you.
You are all ridiculous. You all have nice roles to play. What more do you want?
Don't expect sympathy from us. You wrote the thing. You don't have to learn it.
You think forgetting lines is all I have to worry about? Look, if it flops, it'll all be on my head. It's a major project putting on a comedy like this for a court audience. These are people who are not easy to amuse. They rarely laugh at anything. Show me an author who doesn't tremble when faced with an audience like that. I'm the one who should be wanting to be anywhere else than here doing this.
If it really scared you, you would have prepared better and not agreed to do this in 8 days.
What option did I have? The
What
king
option?
demanded it.
What option? You could have told him, with all respect, that it was impossible in such a short time. That's what anyone else would have done, if only to protect their reputation. Even better, they would have found some way to wriggle out of it altogether. What is going to happen if it's a disaster? If nothing else, think of how your enemies will gloat.
Least you could have done was to ask for more time.
The king demands prompt obedience and certainly doesn't like having obstacles thrown into his path. He wants to play now, and we're expected to comply. If we took too long, he would simply give up on the whole idea, and then where would we be? There's no use in us pouting and complaining. Our job is to give him what he wants, and when he wants it. In fact, we'd be better off presenting him with something with a bit rough around the edges. At least we would have complied with his commands. Now, look, enough. Let's rehearse.
But how can we rehearse if we don't know our roles?
You will trust me. And anyway, you know the plot. Surely you can improvise your way through it. Should be easy enough. After all, it's in prose.
Oh, excuse me, prose is even worse than verse.
You should have written a comic monologue for yourself.
Oh, for goodness sake, wife, don't be idiotic.
Well, thank you, husband. That's marriage for you. You see how it changes people? 18 months ago, he never would have spoken to me like that.
Oh, be quiet.
There you have it. Your future looks wonderful. Bring in the priest, a simple ceremony, and boom, the rose-tinted glasses are gone. Now he tells you you're idiotic and that you're to be quiet.
Enough chatter.
Well, if I wrote a comedy, do you know what subject I would pick? I would justify all the faults that women are accused of and let their husbands see the difference between the insensitivity of the husband and the thoughtfulness of the lover.
All right, all right. We don't have time to discuss this now. We have work to do.
But since the king wanted you to write something about the way the critics had attacked you, why didn't you just write the play you've been talking about for ages? You know, the one about the bourgeois actors. That would have been perfect. In fact, it would pretty much have written itself. After all, since they tried to attack you, they laid themselves wide open for mockery. And you would have painted a much more accurate portrait of them than they ever did of you, since all they did was make fun of your comic acting. If you mock an actor in a comic role, you are only mocking the ridiculousness of the character he presents. But an actor playing a serious role draws on his own mannerisms, so when you mock him, you are close to mocking the man himself. Much more effective.
Well, that's true. But I had my own reasons for not attacking the Bourgogne people. To be frank, I didn't think it was worth it, and it would have taken too long to work it out. You know, they perform the same days that we do, so I've only been able to see them 3 or 4 times since we got back to Paris. All I've got so far are their most obvious characteristics. In order to write really convincing caricatures of them, I'd need to study them in much more detail.
I recognize some of them immediately from your descriptions.
How come you never told me about this?
It was just an idea that I had once for a short piece, but I gave it up. It was a trifle, a gentle satire, you know, lots of in-jokes. I doubt if anyone but me would have found it funny.
Tell me about it. The others all seem to know about it already.
We don't have time now.
Just a few words. It'll only take a minute.
Oh. All right. And I was thinking of a comedy. There would be a writer, well, I would have played him myself, and he would have come to offer his latest play to a group of comic actors who just arrived in town after touring around the countryside. And I would say, have you any actors and actresses who would be able to perform my work well? Because my play is, let me tell you, they would say, our people have been very much appreciated wherever we've performed. And which of them plays the king, I say. This fellow's pretty good at that, they said. Who, I say, this good-looking young man? Are you kidding? The fellow who plays the king has to be big and as fat as 4 men. Morbleu, king has to be round, truly a beast, someone who can fill a throne properly. He can't be a slender, attractive fellow. That wouldn't work at all. Well, let's hear him say a few lines. Whereupon the actor would recite a few lines from Corneille's Nicomedes. You remember the bit near the start of Act 2? Shall I tell you, a rasp? He served me too well, increasing my power, and so on. All very naturalistic, but the playwright burst in and said, what, do you call that acting? You must be joking. He needs to declaim the lines. Listen, I'll show you. And the writer imitates Montfleury from the Bourgogne company. Shall I tell you what else? He served me too well, and so on. Do you see the way I'm standing, the way I stress the end of the line? That's the way to impress the audience and get them really excited. And then the actor would say, well, sir, it seems to me that a king talking privately with the captain of his guards would speak naturally and not go off into a demonic rant. You really haven't a clue, do you? Says the writer. You do it that way and the audience will never sit up and take notice. Let's see a love scene. And so an actor and actress get up and do a bit between Camilla and Curiace from Horatius near the end of Act 2. When Camilla says, must you go, my dear soul? Does this fatal honor delight you at the expense of our happiness? I see too well, and so on. And they play it the same way the other actor played the king, totally naturalistic, really very nicely. But the writer cuts in saying, that's complete simply laughable. That's not going to get you anywhere. Here's how you have to do this bit. And he imitates Mademoiselle Beauchateau from the Bourgogne Company. Monsieur Go, my dear soul, and so on. No, I knew you better, and so on. And did you see how natural and passionate it is? Don't you admire the way she smiles through adversity? Well, that was the idea anyway. And then he goes through all the other actors and actresses in the same way.
It's very funny. And I recognize most of those people straight away. What happens then?
Well, then the writer imitates Beauchateau doing a few lines of the Cid. Pierced to the depth of the heart by an attack as unexpected as it is deadly, wretched avenger of an unjust quarrel. And then this one. Now you'll recognize this one, doing a bit from Pompey by Sertorius. The enmity that reigns between the two parties does not mean we forget our honors due. So on.
That Holteroach.
Oh, who else? And what about this one? So Polybius is dead. Have you come to help me mourn this tragedy?
Yes, that's the VA. But there are a few of them that aren't so easy to do.
Oh, no. Every one of them has very obvious characteristics. I just need to study them a bit more. All right, this is fun, but enough. We're wasting valuable time. Let's go back to our play. We've only got 8 days, remember. Monsieur de la Grange, you and I will each be playing a marquis.
Oh, Marquesas again.
Of course. Well, who the hell else should play the comic relief? I mean, these days it's always a marquis. In the old days, the clown was always the idiot's servant. But fashions change, and now that it's a ridiculous marquis who gets the laughs.
True. We'd be lost without all those deliciously foolish marquesses.
Yeah, and for you, Mademoiselle de Parc.
My God, I just know I'll make a mess of it. Goodness knows why you gave me such an affected part.
My dear, you always say the same thing. You said it when you were given pretty much the same role in the School for Wives criticized. Nonetheless, you always play these types brilliantly. Everyone knows no one could do them better. And it'll be just the same here. You'll play the role to perfection, and no matter what you think.
How could I? I'm the least affected person I know.
Very true, which just goes to show what an excellent actress you are, since you can completely convincingly portray a character so different from yourself. So, everybody, I need you to really get inside the character you're playing. After all, you're not playing yourselves here. Monsieur de Croissy, you're playing the poet, and I need you to really fill out the character. He has a permanent pedantic air in everything he says, wherever he is, and no matter who he's talking to. He has a stentorious voice, hits every syllable. So take careful note of the spelling and pronounce the words exactly as written, no matter how stilted they sound. Monsieur Brécourt, you're playing a straight role, pretty much the same as you played in the Critique. Remember, Durant? A real calm and natural delivery, and please avoid any hand waving. Mademoiselle Béjar, now you're one of those women who believe that as long as they don't actually make love, they can do anything else they want. They hide in their prudery and think that all the good qualities they see are nothing compared to their own miserable honor. Self-obsessed, except, of course, that no one else really cares about them. Make sure you always keep her character in the front of your mind and make all the appropriate, the right faces. And as for you, Mademoiselle de Brie, you are one of those women who believes themselves to be the most virtuous in the world as long as they keep up appearances, who believe that it's only a sin if there's scandal, who describe their current affair as an innocent friendship, so that what others would call a lover, she calls merely an acquaintance. Use that as the basis of your character. Mademoiselle Molière, you are playing the same character that you played in Critique, so I don't need to tell you anything. And the same goes for Mademoiselle de Parc. Mademoiselle de Croissy, now you play one of those women who are always paying nasty compliments to people, slipping in snide comments whenever she can, who can't stand the idea of anyone being nice to their neighbor. Now, you should have a lot of fun with that. Mademoiselle Hervé, you play the cheeky maid, You occasionally join in the conversation and parrot all your mistress's words when you even don't really understand them. Yeah, you know the sort of thing. Right, now let's start rehearsing and putting it all together. Oh, for God's sake, that's all we need. Another irritation. What does he want?
Hello, Mr. Moliere.
Ah, your servant, sir. God, it's that plague of a man.
How are you doing?
Very well, thank you. Now, ladies, don't...
I've just been going around telling everyone how wonderful you are.
I am obliged to you. Damn the man. Now, gentlemen, take care.
Are you working on a new piece today?
Yes, sir. Now, as I was saying, ladies, don't forget.
Well, is it a commission from the king?
Indeed, sir. Please, gentlemen, always keep in mind.
What are you calling it?
Yes, sir.
No. I was asking what you were calling it.
I've no idea yet. Now, ladies, you're going to have to...
What do the costumes look like?
You are looking at them. Now, please.
When will you start?
Well, as soon as the king gets here. Continual moronic questions.
But when do you think he will come?
How the hell should I know?
You have no idea?
Look, sir, I am the most ignorant man in the world. I'm quite unable to answer any of your questions, I promise you. Oh, I'm losing it. This clown barges his way in and persists in asking idiotic questions. Didn't give a damn that we're busy trying to work here.
Ladies, your servant.
Oh, for God's sake, now he's going after them.
You look like an angel, my dear. Are you both performing today?
Yes, sir.
Of course. Without you, the play would be worthless.
Can't the two of you get rid of him?
Monsieur, please, we are in the middle of a rehearsal.
Oh, of course. I don't mean to interrupt. Just carry on.
Well,
No. I insist. I have no wish to disrupt your rehearsal. Feel free to just, what do you call it? Rehearse.
Yes, but...
I never stand on ceremony. You can rehearse just as much as you like.
Monsieur, these young ladies are attempting to tell you that they would very much prefer that there were no outsiders at the rehearsal.
Why? Surely it wouldn't harm me at all.
Oh, it's tradition, monsieur, that they always respect. Oh, besides, you will enjoy the finished production so much more when you see it if you don't know what is going to happen next.
If you insist. In that case, I'll go off and spread the word that you are ready.
Yeah, no, we're not nearly ready, monsieur. No need to hurry, please. Take your time. Oh, the world is sadly full of idiots. Oh, come on, let's get started. So imagine, if you will, the stage is an anteroom of the king's palace, and it's a place where all sorts of delights and entertainment are regularly found. It's easy to imagine that everyone will end up here at some point, and we can all invent all sorts of reasons for bringing in all the ladies that I want to introduce. Now, the play opens with a meeting between two marquises. Monsieur Lagrange, you enter a swaggering society man, one of the beautiful people of the court, playing with your hair, humming a little tune. La, 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 la. Everyone else has to move out of the way because you two insist on dominating every space you enter. Now, come on, Lagrange, let's see it.
Hello, Marquis.
For goodness sake, that's not the right tone for the Marquis. Take it up a little. Pretentious, pompous are the key words here. They overdo it to show that they're clearly not members of the common class. Hello, Marquis, from the top.
Hello, Marquis.
Ah, Marquis, your servant.
What are you doing here?
I'm waiting for these gentlemen to unlock the door so that I may present myself.
Oh, what a crowd! What a rabble! I certainly don't care to rub shoulders with them. I'll want to enter after they've all pushed their way in.
Yes, there are at least 20 people here who have no chance of getting in at all, but still they push forward and block the entrance.
Oh, let's shout our names to the usher. Who is it today? Monsieur. He'll announce us.
No, that may be all right for you, but what about me? I don't want to stand out. Monsieur Molière is liable to put it in one of his plays.
It is but it's a bit late for that, don't you think? Wasn't it you that he played in The Critique?
Me? You jest. It was you to the very T.
But by my faith, how kind of you to lend me your character.
Well, I must say it's very generous of you to lend yours to me when the honor really belongs to you.
How amusing.
So funny.
What? Are you going to deny that you were the model for the Marquis in The Critique?
How could I not have realized? It was obviously me, someone despicable, loathsome, and of course the cream pie reference. It was me.
Well, you can drop the sarcasm. It was you. Shall we have a little wager on it? We'll soon find out who is right.
How much do you want to bet?
I'll bet 100 pistoles that it was you.
Oh, you're very sure of yourself. 100 pistoles.
100 pistoles. Cash.
Oh, of course, cash. Well, 90 pistoles that Amintas owes me and 10 pistoles in cash.
Bet.
Done.
It's your money. That's going to be at risk.
Well, let me tell you, yours isn't safe.
Hold aside, Hoofkins.
Ooh, here's someone who could be the judge. Chevalier.
What, monsieur?
Oh, very nice, Bricot. You sound just like a marquis. But if you remember, I told you that your character should speak naturally.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, well, come on then. Oh, Chevalier.
What?
Judge us on a wager we've made.
What was the bet?
When we were arguing who was the model for the Marquis in that critique play of Moliere's. He swears it's me, but I'm positive it's him.
And I'm positive it's neither of you. You are both crazy wanting that character to be based on one of you. Mind you, I keep hearing things like that all the time. People complaining about Molière, saying he's based some character or another on them. He, of course, says that he gets really annoyed with people who claim he has written characters of them. He claims he writes only general portraits of manners and attitudes with no reference to specific individuals, and that all of the characters are fictional. Nothing more than ghosts created from his imagination with the sole aim of entertaining and delighting his audience. He always becomes upset at the idea that he picks on specific people to portray in his plays as if they disgusted him and deserve to be humiliated in public. His rivals, however, take great pleasure in continually trying to show that is exactly what he does do. So, of course, everyone looks at the characters in his plays and tries to work out who Molière is poking fun at all this time. All of which is, of course, nonsense. It's quite ridiculous to say that actor is playing so-and-so when his mannerisms and words could fit 100 people. Since the business of comedy is to show up the faults and foibles of all our contemporaries, it would be impossible for Molière to create a character that doesn't look like someone we know. If he were to stop doing that, well, he might as well simply give up writing plays altogether.
Well, Chevalier, it seems you want to defend Moliere and spare the feelings of our friend here.
Not at all. It's you he's saving. And now it seems we need another judge.
Fair enough. But tell me, Chevalier, don't you think that your Moliere must have run out of ideas by now? Do you really think he'll be able to find any more material for his...
More material? My dear Marquis, we will always provide him with more than enough new material. After all, it's not as if we're ever going to learn anything and suddenly gain wisdom from what his characters say and do, no matter what he may hope.
No, wait. You need to stress that bit much more like this. More material? We'll give him plenty of material. After all, it's not as if we're suddenly going to become more sensible and behave with wisdom and common sense after watching his comedies. Do you really think he's run out of ridiculous stereotypes to parody in his plays? I can think of at least 20 types he hasn't used yet. For example, what about those people who become close friends of some poor soul, but as soon as their back is turned, they tear him down and spread gossip about them? What about those sycophantic crawlers that slide around court, fawning over everyone with their syrupy flattery? It's enough to turn one's stomach. Or not to mention those cowards who only court those who feel they can advance them and then turn on them when their circumstances slip. Oh, and then there are the ones who wander around the court moaning and complaining, never happy, constant irritations to everybody. They keep pestering the king for years, and they think they deserve a reward from you for gaining the king's attention. Well, even worse are the ones who suck up to everyone. They rush at everyone they see, pumping their hands and professing lifelong friendship, saying, "Oh, sir, your very humble servant. I am totally at your service." Or, "Oh, sir, I nearly missed you. Here I am yours to command." Or, "My dear sir, I am entirely yours. Do me the honor to employ me. I revere you above all others. There are none I hold above you in honor." Oh, yes, believe me, Marquis, Moliere will never run out of idiots to parody. He's barely scraped the surface. And that's how this section needs to be played.
All right, I see what you mean.
Okay, well, now let's move on.
Here come Clement and Elise.
Ladies, this is where you come in. Mademoiselle de Parc, remember to wiggle your hips and, flutter your hands. Yeah, I know it seems a bit much, but force yourself. Sometimes for the sake of art, you have to,
Yeah.
Why, Madame, I recognized you from all the way across the room. I knew it couldn't be anyone else.
Oh, my dear, I'm waiting for a particular gentleman to appear. I have a business matter to see him about.
My dear, moi aussi.
Ladies, here are boxes you can use for the moment as armchairs.
Come, Madame, sit down by me, if you would.
After you, Madame.
Excellent. Now, after these little dumb show introductions, you'll all play the rest of the scene seated, except for the Marquises, who will both jump up at every time they get excited and then sit down so that they're constantly bobbing up and down. My dear Chevalier, you really need to see to the frills on your stockings.
What for?
Well, they're really looking a bit sad.
Oh, very amusing.
My dear Mademoiselle, your pale complexion is quite dazzling, especially in contrast to the glorious red of your lips.
My dear, pray do not look at me. I feel so ugly today.
Come now, lift your veil a little.
I couldn't. Oh, my appearance frightens even me.
But you are so beautiful.
Oh, no, I couldn't.
Oh, please do.
Oh, please, no.
Oh, yes, indulge us.
Oh, I can't.
We insist.
Oh, I despair.
Just a glance.
Oh, dear.
My dear, you really will have to give in to us. We insist. We will not be deprived of the delight of seeing you.
Mon Dieu, you never give up, do you? You're determined to get your own way.
Madame, you shouldn't be worried about being seen in public. All those people who say you paint your face are just being mean. Once I've seen you, I can put them firmly in their place.
Dear me, alas, I don't know just what painting my face means, but oh look, where are those ladies heading?
Oh, it's so exciting. We have some extraordinary news to tell you. Monsieur Lycidas, the playwright, he's just informed us that someone has written a play attacking Moliere, and it's going to be put on by the Bourgogne troupe.
Oh, it's true. They wanted to read it to me. Apparently, it's written by someone named Brito.
Excuse me, sir. He's listed on the posters as Borsal. But the word on the street is that a number of people have had a hand in it, so there's high expectations of it. All the authors and the actors looked on Moliere as their greatest enemy. So we all got together to make fun of him. We all chipped in with ideas for his character, but we were careful not to put our names to it. After all, if we'd let it be known that we were all involved, it would have made him seem too important a figure, and that would simply have defeated the object of it all. So we chose an author who had virtually not reputation at all.
I must say, I'm delighted by the idea.
Oh, and me too. He'll soon get a taste of his own medicine. Oh, let's see how he likes it.
Oh, that'll teach him not to satirize everybody and everything. He doesn't allow women to show any wit whatsoever. He sneers at all our fine words and wants us all to stick to simple, common language.
Making fun of the way we speak is nothing. He also tries to censure all our friendships and relationships, however innocent they may be. And to hear him speak, you'd think it was criminal to show any virtue or merit at all.
It really is intolerable. We women can do nothing anymore. And why doesn't he leave our husbands alone? There is no need for him to open their eyes and make them aware of things to which they used to be oblivious.
Never mind that. He even satirizes decent, honest women, so that by the time he's finished making jokes at their expense, they're called virtuous she-devils.
He's just being impertinent. He needs to be dealt with and punished.
The performances of this play, madame, must be supported, and the actors of the Bourgogne troupe must be protected against.
Tell them they've nothing to fear. I can guarantee that their play will be a huge success.
Indeed, yes. You are quite right, madame. Too many people are committed to it being a success for it to be anything but. Think of all those who believe that they have been satirized by him. They are going to leap at the chance of getting their revenge by applauding and praising the Bourgogne piece.
Without a doubt. And I can speak for 12 marquises, 6 précieuses, 20 coquettes, and 30 cuckolds, who will all wildly be applauding it.
Indeed.
Indeed. Why should they have gone out of his way to offend all those people? Cuckolds, particularly in my experience, are some of the nicest people in the world.
I don't blame them. I've been told by reliable sources that this should finish him and all of his players. The actors and the authors, from the best to the worst, are all furious with him.
It serves him right. Why does he make such terrible plays that everyone in Paris rushes to see, where he cruelly caricatures people that everybody recognizes? Why doesn't he write comedies like those of Monsieur Lycidas? No one would get upset by them, and all the other writers would praise them. It's true that such comedies would bring in big audiences, but on the other hand, everyone says they're well written.
That's true. All my works have been liked by the literati, and I have the additional advantage of not having made any enemies.
Making sure that you satisfy yourself is much more important than any amount of applause from audiences or all the money that Moliere receives from his plays. It doesn't matter how many people come to see your work as long as your colleagues approve of it.
But when will this new piece, what's it called? The painter's portrait, when will it be presented?
I have no idea, but I'm going to buy a ticket to the front row and get ready to cheer bravo!
Oh, me too.
And me!
And I am making a stand for the play. I will shout down all those voices that object to it. It's the least we can do to make sure that these attacks on us by Moliere are stopped.
Well said.
We're all with you.
Absolutely.
Count me in.
We need to hound this man to stop him caricaturing us all and making fun of us.
Oh, my word, Chevalier, you'd better tell your Moliere to go into hiding.
Who, him? My dear Marquis, I can assure you that he intends to go to the theater and laugh with everybody else at the portrait that's made of him.
Oh, yes, well, he won't be laughing for much longer.
Maybe he will find more things to laugh about than you think. I have seen the script, and as always, all the best ideas in it are simply stolen from Moliere. So I doubt that he will be particularly displeased when people like it. All the bits that really attack him, I guarantee, will simply encourage sympathy for him. When those people who claim that he has written caricatures that mock them complain, they are simply going to make their reputations worse. No smoke without fire, you know.
Yeah.
Anyway, since when was it wrong for a writer to make the characters he creates too accurate?
The Bourgogne actors told me that they are just waiting for him to retaliate.
Retaliate? Oh, I doubt that he would be so foolish as to respond to their invectives. Everyone knows that what their motive is. They don't need to give them credibility. But by far, the best answer he can give them would be a new play that would be just as successful as his others. That would be the real way to take revenge on them. And given the way they feel about this whole business, it would be by far the best way to undermine all their work and make them furious.
Oh, but Chevalier.
Could I just interrupt the rehearsal for a moment? Monsieur Molière, I must say that if it were me, I would have handled things differently. Everyone expects a vigorous response from you, and after the way I was told you were treated in their play, you have every right to attack the people responsible, the actors and the writers. And there is really no need to spare them.
Now that just makes me angry. You women are all the same. You want me to do as they do, to behave like a child throwing a hissy fit and hurl insults at them. Oh, that would satisfy my honor and make them furious. Don't you think that's just what they're waiting for me to do? When they talked about whether they would perform the painter's portrait and worried about what my response would be, you can bet that some of them said, let him hurl all the insults he wants as long as we make lots of money. Is it possible to shame these people? Wouldn't it be so much better to deny them any satisfaction by not giving them what they expect?
They complained a lot, however, about those 3 or 4 references you made about them in the critique and the ridiculed Pertuses.
I don't blame them. Those comments I made about them were pretty offensive. It doesn't surprise me in the slightest that they latched onto them. But that's not the real reason they're angry. Far more important is that audiences liked the plays rather more, supposedly, than they should have. Ever since we returned to Paris, we've proved to be better at pleasing audiences than they are. But just let them get on with it. I see no reason why all their silly games should worry us. Let them criticize my pieces, so much the better. And God forbid that my plays should ever please them. Now that would upset me.
Surely there can't be much pleasure for you to see your works torn apart.
What's that to me? Haven't I got everything from my plays that I wanted? After all, I've succeeded in pleasing all the influential people I was aiming for. Shouldn't I be satisfied with that? All their censorship has come far too late. Should it concern me at this stage? Of course not. Now, when they attack one of my pieces that has found favor with those people who matter at court, they're really just attacking the judgment of those people, not me.
Well, if I were you, I would have ensured that jumped up little upstart of an author would become a laughingstock for being so foolish as to attack someone who wouldn't even give him the time of day.
No, you're out of your mind. Look, the antics of Monsieur Bourseau would hardly make a suitable subject with which to entertain the court. I'd like to know how you would expect me to portray him in order to make him amusing for the king and his friends. And even more, how to make him entertaining to my regular audience. Although I'm sure he would be only too delighted to be portrayed in one of my plays in whatever fashion. He has, after all, nothing to lose. So the players try to provoke me into a foolish war with him, largely to distract me from getting on with all the projects that are occupying my time at present. And you, you are naive enough to fall for their ploy. But I will not be dragged into their trap. What I will do, however, is to make a public statement. I will announce to the world that I will not respond to their criticisms and attacks. They say that all the evils of the world are in my plays, and I agree with them. Let them parody them to their heart's content, and then try to profit performances of their juvenile nonsense. Oh, yeah, even try to cash in on my reputation. I endorse it. I encourage it. Yeah, they have need of funds, and I'm more than content to provide them with the wherewithal to ensure their survival, as long as they can control their reprehensible satires on me and mine. Courtesy, after all, has its limits, and there are things which do not amuse either my audiences or indeed myself. I give them free use of my plays, my face, my gestures, my words, my tone of voice, and my style of presentation to use as they see fit if they can derive any benefit from them. I am not opposed to this in any way, and I'll be delighted if they achieve any success from it. But if I do this for them, then they owe me the courtesy of leaving me the rest and refraining from repeating those particularly offensive accusations that they've been publicly spreading. Now, I intend to make this offer to the gentleman who has assumed the role of their playwright, and that is the sum total of the answer that they will ever receive from me.
But finally,
nothing. Look, you're going to drive me crazy. Look, enough of this. We don't have time for this chit-chat. We have a play to rehearse. Now, where were we? I don't remember.
We were just the part where...
What's that noise? Oh, dear God, it must be the king arriving. Oh, my, this is fun, isn't it? Well, we've got no time to work it anymore. We'll just have to do the best we can with what we've got.
Dear God, it's terrifying. Trying to play a part without any rehearsals.
What, you can't do it?
No.
I couldn't do mine either.
Neither could I.
Nor me.
Nor me.
Nor me.
Well, what on earth is the problem? But you're trying to make a fool of me? Who's Bejar?
Bejar. Gentlemen, I come to warn you that the king has arrived and he's waiting for you to start.
Oh, this is agony. It's an impossible situation. These ladies are in a panic. They say there's no way can perform without adequate rehearsal. Please, look, please, could we have a little longer? I'm sure the king will be understanding and realize we just need a little longer to prepare. Ladies, please try to stay calm. It'll all work out, I promise you.
Oh, and make some excuse to the king.
What do you mean, some excuse?
Messieurs, commencez donc.
Just a moment, sir. God, I'm losing control of this.
Messieurs, commencez donc.
In a moment, sir. What do you suggest? Am I supposed to deny the king?
Messieurs, commencez donc.
Yes, monsieur, we will. Oh, for God's sake, why must he come crashing in to tell us to start the play? The king hasn't issued his command yet.
Messieurs, commencez donc.
Yes, monsieur. We're about to begin. What now? Are you trying to make me a liar in front of the king? Oh, sir, have you come to tell us to begin as well? Well, look, let me tell you. Where's Bejar?
No, gentlemen, I've come to tell you that the king has been told of your difficulty and that he is magnanimously and generously prepared to allow to present your comedy at a later date when you ever feel you are ready.
Oh, sir, you saved my life. My friends, the king has generously decided to allow us more time to rehearse the play than he commanded me to present it for his entertainment. I'm sure you will join me in thanking him now profusely for his generosity and kindness. Yeah, oh, let's just revive one of the old plays for the time being so that he's not going to be too disappointed.
End of play.
Cool.
J'ai perdu ma tête dans la rue Saint-Honoré. J'ai cherché ça et là, je ne l'ai pas trouvé. Dis-moi, où est ma tête? J'ai perdu mes bras sur la place de l'Opéra. Je ne les ai pas trouvés. J'ai cherché ça et là, dis-moi. Où sont mes bras? Depuis que j'ai te perdu, je suis en pièces sur l'avenue et je ne peux pas recoller les morceaux.
All righty, everyone.
Alrighty.
Thank you, everyone. I hope that was
Alrighty.
fun.
Yeah, it's fun. It's fun as hell.
Great. Thank you for coming from Paris, Delphine. Merci.
Yeah.
Merci.
Added some
Avec grand
legitimacy.
plaisir.
Yeah.
Avec grand plaisir. Merci pour votre accueil. C'est
Ah,
super.
merci beaucoup. Oui. Thank you, everyone.
Merci,
And we have
Delphine.
Angus,
Yeah.
Angus from London.
Yeah.
Always,
Yeah,
Angus.
great.
Yes.
And thank you for putting this getting this play together for us and in from the translation.
It
Very nice work.
it was interesting because they turned out, I wasn't expecting it. They turned out to be a great deal more modern and contemporary in their
Yeah.
in their philosophy and in his guidelines than I would ever have thought. I was not expecting it until I sort of dug down into the heart of them.
I know, right? Yeah, that was really crazy.
Quite,
you know,
quite revolutionary.
yeah, the topical references about like women making their input on creative stuff. Yeah, that was crazy. It's like it was made,
and it's all him.
like last
It's
week.
all him.
Thank you all. I had a great time, man.
Yeah,
I was
thank you.
glad
Great,
they-
Thank you,
Brian.
Brian.
Thank
Great
you
work,
all.
everyone.
Cool,
you.
everybody.
Fun.
Thanks to all
Thanks,
friends.
everyone.
Thanks to
Thank
you, friends.
It's
All
going to
right.
be fun watching. It's going to be watching it on YouTube and seeing everybody in the green room.
Yeah.
My friends and colleagues know. Thank you. You have the rest of you have a great weekend. Appreciate it. Thank you.
You
All
too.
right.
Take care, Brian.
Great, thank you.
Adieu.
Drew, you're coming from California?
Yeah, I'm coming in. I'm not coming. Take a little while. And so
Yes.
I'm sorry, I have a small baby here who needs
Aw.
attention.
Oh, look at that.
What kind is he?
He's a deer-head chihuahua.
Wow.
So
Oh,
so he
adorable.
looks like a little fawn. You can't see him because he's going at my face right now, but
Yeah, right.
Oh,
We
yeah.
see the deer in him.
yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
They're very small and their heads don't fuse, so they still have fontanelle. So the vet said if I wanted to, I could get him a helmet when I take him out.
Oh, yeah.
He doesn't get out much anyway. We just go basically to the back garden and
Yeah.
sometimes the front to get the mail. So
Yeah.
How old is he?
he's about 4 years old. He was rescued. Oh, here's just him without me.
Oh,
Yeah.
sweet.
Yeah.
What's his name?
His name's Wally because he was found outside a Walmart, pretty abused and with some bad mange and some injuries. So
How could anybody mistreat a cute little thing like that?
I
mean, yeah, unbelievable.
I think people are on drugs a lot of the time that live outside of Walmart.
Oh, well, yeah,
No.
yeah,
Well.
yeah.
Has he accommodated well?
Oh yeah, he only likes me, my mother, and my father, and anybody else, including the other members of my family that come to the house, he'll bark at them incessantly. But
Yeah, yeah.
and
Oh,
he's a
he's
picky
protecting
eater.
his space.
Delphine,
doting.
can we
He
see
needs-
Mila?
He's looking at me.
Est-ce que Mila est là?
Elle dort
Oh, elle dort. Okay.
Elle dort.
We have another little dog, but she's
une
asleep.
autre fois.
Oh,
Wonderful.
You
Well,
hungry?
Okay.
nice to see you again, Paul and Leah. Nice to see you again.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me.
See you all again, hopefully soon.
Yes.
Yes.
Good. We'll
Yes.
look forward to next time.
Yeah.
Yes.
Right.
And
Thanks
we're
so
gonna
much,
have a-
Simone.
Great. Thank you, everyone. Thank you
Everybody.
for
Take
all-
care, everybody. Have a good
great weekend.
Take
Fun
care.
weekend.
Good
Au
weekend.
revoir.
Bye. Right on. I'm leaving. Leaving.